As we draw closer to the beautiful feast of divine mercy, we are reminded that no sin is too great for God's love and no life is beyond His redemption. Today, we revisit one of the most powerful true stories of mercy ever told. This is not just a story about crime and punishment, but about hope, forgiveness, and the unstoppable mercy of Jesus. It is a story of a man whose final words pointed not to despair, but to heaven. A story of mercy that transformed a sinner into a saint. Jacques Fesch was born on April 6, 1930 in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, a town near Paris in France, into a wealthy family that did not believe in God. Even though he grew up surrounded by comfort or luxury, Jacques felt empty inside. Nothing in the world satisfied him, and even the birth of his daughter Veronique did not bring the maturity or responsibility that his life needed. At the age of 24, Jacques had a wife and a daughter and another child with his mistress. Feeling trapped and overwhelmed, he asked his father to buy him a boat so he could escape to Tahiti. When his father refused, Jacques made a desperate decision. He took a gun and tried to rob a currency dealer. The dealer's name was Alexandre Schilberstein. Jacques struck him on the head, but Schilberstein managed to trigger the alarm. A nearby officer, Jean Van, rushed to the scene. As Jacques tried to escape, he turned and fired wildly at the officer. Jean Van died on the spot, 3 bystanders were injured, and Jacques was arrested minutes later while trying to enter the metro. The crime shocked the entire nation of France. News headlines covered the tragedy everywhere, and the funeral of the fallen officer was broadcast across the country. The trial of Jacques became a national sensation, gripping the public like a dramatic story as it moved towards its final judgment. On April 6, 1957, Jacques Fesch was sentenced to death by guillotine. Jacques was placed in solitary confinement at La Sainte prison in Paris. At first, he rejected the prison chaplain and refused to speak with him, but the chaplain continued to visit and slowly built a relationship with him. Around this time, one of Jacques' old friends became a priest and began visiting him, and his lawyer Baudet was also a faithful Catholic who encouraged him. These 3 men became instruments of God's grace in Jacques' life. Through their guidance and prayers, Jacques began to reflect deeply on his past. Realizing the pain he had caused, he experienced a true conversion and returned to his Catholic faith with all his heart. Jacques began to see his prison cell as a kind of monastery. He read the spiritual lives of Saint Francis of Assisi and Saint Therese of Lisieux and kept in close contact with his family, especially his brother and stepmother. He prayed daily, recited the divine office, and constantly sought God. He worried about the spiritual future of his daughter and encouraged his wife Pierrette to rediscover faith. His mother and sister also began to show interest in Catholicism. Then tragedy struck again when his mother died while his trial was still ongoing. Jacques had hoped for a lighter sentence, maybe life in prison or even 20 years, believing that with good behavior he might serve only 10. Instead, in early April 1957, he was given the death sentence. During this time, Jacques experienced a deep spiritual struggle, facing temptations and confronting his pride and weaknesses. I am sad indeed. Is it a lack of humility that is making me insensitive? I could easily become violent, and at the least contradiction, my hackles go up. Pride, the worst of evils, and the one that most separates us from the Lord. I have plenty of reasons to be humble, but I'm not. The more I'm knocked down, the more I stiffen my neck and cling to the pride that is my form of courage. Do not ask God to save such and such a person or to help this one or that, but ask Him that you may love Him and that His will may be done. You must talk with Him familiarly and explain to Him that you want to love Him well, but that you can't do it, that many things seem obscure and illogical to you, and that you would like to understand them a little better, and do not hesitate all day long to invoke heaven. Jacques continued writing in a spiritual journal that would later inspire many people. He offered his life for his father and for all those he loved, and the night before his execution, he was fully reconciled with his wife Pierrette. In his final journal entry, he wrote, "In 5 hours, I shall look upon Jesus." Here is where the cross and its mystery of suffering make their appearance. The whole of life has this piece of wood as its center. We can have no genuine hope of peace and salvation apart from Christ crucified. Happy the man who understands this. He made peace with his wife the night before his execution, and on October 1st, 1957, nearly 6 months after his sentence, Jacques Fesch was executed for his crimes. After his death, Pierrette and his daughter Veronica tried to publish his letters so others could see the power of redemption, but at first no publisher showed interest. With the help of a Carmelite nun, Sister Veronique, and Father Augustin Michel Lemone, his writings were finally published and began inspiring people from the 1970s until today. We must pray without ceasing. I am not afraid to die, but I am afraid of not dying a Christian. Life is, nevertheless, a great blessing. On September the 21st, 1987, Cardinal Jean-Marie Lustiger, Archbishop of Paris at the time, opened an official investigation into Jacques Fesch's life, and in 1993, his cause was opened in Rome, giving him the title Servant of God, a powerful reminder that divine mercy can transform even the greatest sinner into a witness of hope. Servant of God, Jacques Fesch, pray for us.